Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking all about how to deal with a toxic parent. One of the videos that I'm constantly getting comments on is the types of toxic mother-daughter relationships and the toxic relationships between a daughter and a father. These things are really important. We interact with our parents all the time, so it is definitely important to know how to deal with a toxic parent if you have one. Now, before we jump on into this video, I definitely want to encourage you to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss a video. If you're not quite sure about if you have a toxic relationship with your mother or with your father, then I want you to stop right now, go watch that video so that you can see if you fit into one of those types or if you have some of those characteristics in your relationship, and then come back to this video for you to see how you can then deal with that parent. It's important to know that toxic parents can be very detrimental to your mental health. If you think about it, you're with that parent all the time. You grew up with them and you're like, I want to break free. But that dynamic that was created, whether it's fighting, codependent, the controlling, the manipulating, it can be really hard to separate from that. And thus it is always impacting you mentally, emotionally. Now, everybody's not strong enough to just cut their parent off. Sometimes that's not realistic. And that's why it's just important to be aware first if you have that dynamic with them. And now we're going to just talk about some steps and some tips that you can do when trying to navigate with them, whether you see them every day or whether you just see them at family functions. Number one is to stop trying to please them. Now, I can understand that that is much harder to say than it is to do because you want that validation from your parent. You want them to say, I'm proud of you, that I love you, that you did a great job. But in seeking that, knowing that that's not something that they're ever going to give to you, you put yourself at an emotional, vulnerable place all the time where you're subjective to harsh treatment, unkind words, and just feeling abandoned and feeling neglected. And so if you're thinking about, I want to please them, you're going to do things, you're going to go outside of your means. If you want to step away, that pull of, I want them to validate me, I want them to feel good, you're going to bring yourself back to that relationship and compromise everything that you've been working toward. So in this, when you're thinking about, I want to please them, make sure you realize and know that your life is your own. Yes, they brought you into this world, but that doesn't mean that they have free reign to control and govern what you say, how you feel, and what you do with your life. Number two is to set boundaries and enforce those boundaries. Now, in a toxic relationship, you just don't think about boundaries. Boundaries? What is that? Well, when you were growing up as a child, boundaries weren't something that was important. Your parent may have imposed their values on you, told you what to think, told you how to feel. You watched that chaos growing up. So in trying to say, I'm going to set those boundaries, it's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel uncomfortable. You may even feel guilty for saying, no, I can't do that, or no, I'm not available. And so those things will take time, but it's important for you to be clear with them and to be consistent with them. You can't say that I'm not going to just leave work and come pick you up. And then the next time you do that, you know what? Just with the right persuasion, I can get what I want from them. And as a child, that may have been acceptable because you were still learning your own voice. You were in that dynamic. It's all that you knew. But as you're trying to step into that arena of your life where you want something different, you want healthy relationships, you don't want to engage in that toxic relationship, boundaries are a key that gives you physical, mental, and emotional space from that parent. Number three is don't try to change them. I grew up in a very toxic and dysfunctional family, and maybe up until the past 4 or 5 years, me and my mom did have a toxic relationship. My mom is in recovery. And so I remember always trying to think that if I could just stop her from using drugs, that it will be all better. But that was a lot of energy wasted because I can't control my mom. I can't control her desires. I can't control how she thinks and how she feels. And so I wasted a lot of energy emotionally, mentally, feeling like a failure when I couldn't really change her. Am I not good enough? Does she not see how she treats me? And to be honest, no, she really didn't. That wasn't a priority. She grew up in a dysfunctional family as well. So it's something that she passed down to me. But I decided that I did not want that type of relationship. And we have been working on it. So for me, I separated from my mom and I really focused on what I could change and control within myself. And that's how I felt, what my boundaries were, that making the decision that I wasn't going to just work on just pleasing her. She wasn't going to be my everything, and feeling mentally and emotionally, responsible for her is a choice that I made. Number 4 is be mindful of what you share with them. When things are all good and you're like, yes, they get me, you share personal things with them, maybe struggles, maybe ways that they've hurt you, and you think that you're really bonding. But at a flip of a switch, when you say no to them or you set those boundaries, everything that you may have told them will come back in your face like 10 times fold. Like they'll start dredging up stuff, and most times it won't even be in a private setting. They'll wait till other people are around to guilt you, to make you feel bad, to get you back into that corner, in that space that they can control the relationship with you. When you start to get independent, it's very scary for a toxic parent because they realize that they're losing their control. They're losing the world that they knew because that's how they groomed you. Most likely that's how they were raised. And so be mindful that yes, connecting, yes, you want to bond with them. Yes, if they're willing to change, make sure they're trustworthy. Make sure that they're showing you, consistency. Try a little secret with them and see if your whole family know about that secret. So it's just important to take things slow when you're changing and when you're trying to see if you can change that dynamic with them. Number 5, have an exit strategy. Now, if you are familiar with those reality reunions, when things start getting a little too hot, they be like, thank you guys so much. That's my key to go. So if you're knowing that you're going into a situation, maybe you're going over your parents' house, if they coming over to your house, that's a different story. You can tell them to leave, but who knows if they're going to listen. But if you're going to an event, if you're going to their house, make sure you know that, I've reached my limit. That's my cue to exit. That's my cue to just leave. That's something that you need to incorporate. Know when it's time, when you reach your limit, and know when it's time to leave. Now, they may come back at you and say, you rude, you just gonna leave. They might try to bait you into an argument because that's the type of dynamic that they want. They want to bait you into that argument. They want to bait you into staying longer so that they can probably then use it against you later to say, you're just such a disrespectful child and you said this, you said this. So to avoid you saying hurtful things, even though they may be saying hurtful things, just exit. Just exit. And lastly, take care of yourself. Detaching from a toxic parent can be very, very difficult. I went through a time period where I didn't talk to my mother for 2 whole years. I can make a video about that later if you guys want to hear about how and what that was like for me and how we were able to reconnect. But having to take care of yourself mentally and emotionally, my mom was just super draining. She just really was. She was very draining. It was a very toxic relationship. And I had many, many sleepless nights worrying if she was going to be alive the next day. And it just took so much of a toll on me. So I had to care for myself. I had to find out what an actual support system was. I had to find out what a healthy relationship actually looked like because I didn't know. To this day, a lot of my family is still very dysfunctional. It's just the truth. It's just generationally that has been passed down, the way that we communicate, the way that we treat each other, the things that we do to try to get ahead in life. It's just a little too much for me. I hope that these steps are super helpful for you. Take care of yourself. Find things that make you happy. Know that you deserve to be happy. Know that it's going to be a difficult process because that is your family. People put a lot of emphasis on family, but as they say, man, blood ain't always thicker than water. So find your niche, find your tribe, find your people. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope that the tips, also my personal story, and the questions that I left you with can be helpful in you having this journey toward either repairing or helping yourself with navigating having a toxic parent. If you are like, yes, I'm going to try one of these, leave down in the comments below one of the steps that you're going to try to incorporate with your parent. For me, the first step that I realized that I needed to do was that I couldn't change them. I know you probably thought that it was going to be the take care of myself, but no, I had to first realize that I couldn't change or fix her. So that's all I have for you guys today. I will see you next time in the next video. Bye.